Hello all. So in the last sessions we have seen what sentence classification task is all about in NLP, and we have seen three different architectures for performing sentence classification task. We have seen simple RNN, we have also seen long short term memory LSTM architecture, we have seen GRU, gated recurrent unit, right? So when we talk about sentence classification task, when we perform sentence classification, how do we measure the metrics for sentence classification? Okay, so when I talk about classification, we've already seen that the classification metrics in machine learning and deep learning, right? So similar to machine learning and deep learning classification metrics, the same metrics here we discuss in sentence classification, that is accuracy, precision, recall and F measure. So we will look into all these four classification metrics today in the session. Okay, so first when I talk about accuracy, accuracy is the simple evaluation metric that we use for classification. Okay, so in classification setting, basically accuracy is the fraction of instances that your model got right. For example, when you talk about emails filtering or email filtering, I divide the emails into spam and not spam. Depending upon the average of correct identification, we have this accuracy determined. Okay, so for example, if there are 10 emails and your spam filtering model got 8 of them correct. Okay, out of 10, if 8 of them correct, we say that accuracy is around 80%. Okay, now these 10 emails we call them as instances, and for each email, when I talk about sentence classification task, I give labels whether the email is spam or it is not spam. Okay, so depending upon the labels, I do my predictions and check how many of them are correct and wrong. So here the email was spam, but it was predicted as not spam. In this case, the email was not spam but predicted as spam, and rest of them are correct. Out of 10 emails, 8 of the predictions are correct and 2 of them were wrong. So the accuracy is nothing but the total number of correct predictions by the total predictions. Okay, so 8 by 10 where the accuracy is around 80%. Okay, so though accuracy calculation is very simple, it has some limitations. When I talk about limitations of accuracy, if suppose I have imbalanced data set. Okay, so when I have imbalanced data set, that is if I have 90% of spam mails only, then my prediction using accuracy would go wrong. Okay, so that is the reason we will not dependent on only accuracy if you have if you don't have proper balanced data set. Okay, so that is the reason we go for the next two other important classification metrics, which are precision and recall. Okay, so basically we use this precision, recall and F measure in binary classification setting. When I talk about binary classification, we say that the class either belongs to positive class or negative class, only two. We don't have multiple options, 0 or 1, positive, negative, yes or no. Okay, only two different classes. Okay, so in email spam filtering, the positive class is spam, the negative class is not spam. Okay, so when you look into this Venn diagram, we have 4 regions. We have already known we have 4 regions which are true positive, true negative, false positive, false negative. So these are the 4 possibilities of the data that we get. Okay, so when I talk about this Venn diagram, we say these are the predicted positives, those are the true labels. Okay, so let's look into each of the parameter, what is true positive, what is true negative, false positive and false negative, and then see what is precision and what is recall. Okay, first when I talk about true positives, okay, true positives are nothing but the instances that are predicted as positive and are also positive. Actually they are positive and predicted as positive. Okay, actually is positive, predicted is also positive. For that we call it as true positive. Okay, now when I talk about false positive, okay, so actually they are positive. Okay, the instances which are predicted as positive but are actually not in the positive class. Okay, so false positive is nothing but they are actually predicted as what? Positive, but in real they are not positive. Okay, now next when we talk about false negatives, the instances are predicted as negative but are actually positive. Prediction is negative, actual class is positive. Okay, and finally when I talk about true negatives, they are predicted negative and actual are negative. Actual negative, predicted negative is true negative. Actual positive, predicted positive is true positive. Actually they are negative, but predicted positive are false positives and so on. Okay. So when I talk about precision, okay, so precision will tell us the fraction of instances that the model classifies as positive and that are indeed correct. How many of them are positive and actually they are correct. Okay. So when you look into this formulae, the precision stays TP, true positive. How many of them are actually correct by total number of positives, that is TP plus FP. Okay. So that is about your precision. When I talk about recall, that is opposite of precision. Okay. So when I talk about recall, it says it is the fraction of positive instances in your data set that are identified as positive by your model, but they are actually not. Okay. So when you talk about that, so here as you can observe, recall is nothing but TP by TP plus false negatives. The false negative identification is recall, positive identification is your precision. Okay. With respect to true positives, correct classification, precision decides or tells us how many of true based on what total number of them are true, whereas recall tells us true positives divided by true positives with respect to false negatives. Okay. So this is the difference between precision and recall. Okay. Now finally when we talk about F measure, okay, F measure will give you the trade-off between this precision and recall. Okay. So when we talk about spam filter, that is very careful. Okay. I want to go in clear identification of the data, okay, without misleading any of the information. Okay. So here your precision or recall will not work. So it is better we take into practice the trade-off between both of them, which is done by F measure. Okay. So F measure is basically the average of precision and recall. Okay. So the average of precision and recall is given by your F measure. So for sentence classification task, the metrics that we use are accuracy, precision, recall and F measure. Okay. Thank you so much.